By the looks of things, you guys seem to enjoy my recent video where I covered some alternative weapons to the usual meta guns that everyone seems to be using. So I thought to myself, let's cover some more non-meta alternative weapons in this video. However, I'm going to be doing this video a little bit different. In today's video, I'm going to be recommending a non-meta weapon for every single slot in Destiny, from auto rifles all the way down to swords. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting this list off with the auto rifles, there is no other auto that I would recommend other than the Amet AR2. Every single Guardian would have gotten this gun automatically crafted for free when the crafting system first came to the game, so you should already have this gun, which is a great start. Being a precision frame auto rifle with 450 rounds per minute, this makes it the best auto rifle to use for all PvE content. The slower rate of fire means higher damage output, and it's got an amazing perk category to choose from. The two best perks that I would recommend is Ambitious Assassin and Incandescent. It's super obvious what this gun can do. The Incandescent is just going to kill everything, and the Ambitious Assassin is going to overflow the magazine so that you can just kill more enemies in your next magazine. If you do end up getting 15 kills with this gun before you reload, you can overflow the magazine up to 133 rounds, making it just an amazing auto rifle for all PvE content. Now, because I've got so many weapons to recommend in this video, I'm going to keep each gun short and sweet. Let's move on to fusion rifles. A super easy but super effective fusion rifle that you can get this season is the Loaded Question. Now, you can also get it in the Adept version if you want to do a Grandmaster Nightfall. Getting that Adept version of this fusion rifle will make the gun slightly better, but it doesn't matter that much. Just try and get yourself a Loaded Question. This is a high impact fusion rifle, meaning it does massive amounts of damage to bosses. Now, the two best perks that I would recommend on this gun is again Envious Assassin and Controlled Burst. With special weapons, Envious Assassin procs off getting kills with other weapons, so that makes this one super effective. If you get enough kills, again, you can load 21 fusion rifle bolts into one magazine. In the second column, you can roll Controlled Burst, which, when you activate this, will give you a 20% damage boost and a 0.9% multiplier on the charge time. This is a very good and effective fusion rifle. The only thing is you're going to have to keep grinding Nightfalls until you can get that gold roll that you want. But luckily, Nightfalls aren't that hard. The next weapon I want to recommend is a sniper rifle. Again, this one comes from Nightfalls. It is the Uzum RR4. Now, snipers are a little bit funny in this game. If you're going to use one, there's a good chance you're just going to use an exotic like the Izanagi's Burden or the Whisper of the Worm, so choosing this gun was pretty difficult. Now, I've chosen the Uzum because it is very easy to obtain, and also it can roll with some pretty good perks, and it also is solar, meaning it works very well with all of your solar weapon surges. The Uzum has a few perks that you can choose from depending on how you like to play with sniper rifles. In the first column, you can choose between Clown Cartridge or 4th times the Charm, and in the second column, you can choose between Vorpal Weapon or Precision Instrument depending on what you like. Running Vorpal will give you just a flat 15% damage boost, however, Precision Instrument will give you up to a 25% damage boost, but it requires you to get 6 chain headshots in a row, which can be a little bit difficult to do depending on what boss you are hitting, if it's moving around and whatnot. So I would just recommend running Vorpal for a flat 15% damage boost. Now, the next weapon that I want to recommend is the hand cannon, the Apocal Integration. This one is super easy to get, and it is a great alternative to all of the meta hand cannons like the Zali's Bane and the Sunshot. This one is super easy to obtain. Just head over to Neo Muna and complete the quest. It is super simple. It's a great weapon. I won't go on much more about it. Moving on to linear fusion rifles, I'm going to recommend the Taipan 4FR. This one is very similar to the Amet AR2. You should already have this one crafted and given to you by the game. Super simple. You should already have one. If you don't, go and craft it right now. Super easy. There is plenty of perks that you can choose on the Taipan depending on how you like to play. In the first column, you can run Triple Tap, Field Prep, or Clown Cartridge. Very easy. All these perks work very well depending on how you like to play. Now, in the second column, there is also a wonderful amount of perks that you can choose from, whether that be Focus Fury, Frenzy, Firing Line, or even Opening Shot. It doesn't matter. However you like to play, there is plenty of perks to choose from. Now, the Taipan 4FR also has the origin trait Vice Stinger, which basically has a chance at refilling 25% of your magazine. So every time you shoot the weapon, there's a good chance it's going to refill your magazine, which is also very good. Moving on to rocket launchers, I recommend the Hothead. Now, I recommended this one in the last video. This one is super simple to obtain. Just head over to Zavala in the tower and purchase one for 3 engrams. The gold roll, in my opinion, is auto-loading holster and explosive light. It makes it a wonderful rocket launcher. If you watch my last video, I already covered this gun. It is a decent rocket launcher to use until you can get some of the best ones in the game. Super simple to get, so go and grab it right now. Moving on to special grenade launchers, another weapon from this season's Nightfalls, we have the Undercurrent. This one is also obtainable in the Adept version when it is on rotation from Grandmaster Nightfalls. However, you can also just get this one from running a Hero Nightfall. Now this is a new Arc Waveframe grenade launcher that's just come to the game this season. I saw a bunch of people commenting on my recent video recommending this gun, so I thought I'd throw it in this video. Being a Waveframe grenade launcher, it makes it super easy to get kills with it. In the first column, you can run Ambitious Assassin, meaning it's going to overflow the magazine, giving you 2 shots for your next shot. And in the second column, you can run Vault Shot, which just works wonders in all PvE activities, doing massive damage and chaining arc around. This is a super simple gun to use, and it's quite effective. I would definitely recommend trying to get one this season if you haven't already. Unfortunately, I haven't got mine yet, so I can't show you any footage of this one. Moving on to heavy grenade launchers, there is none other than the Regnan. This is a super simple to obtain. Just head over to the war table in the helm and just purchase one. It's just that simple. Again, another weapon that can roll with Envious Assassin and also Explosive Light. This is a great grenade launcher for bursting champions in Nightfalls, or even doing a little bit of decent damage to bosses in other activities. If you don't want to run Envious Assassin, you can also run Auto-Loading Holster in the first column. It's completely up to you. This is a great weapon to have, and it is also craftable. Moving on into the Pulse Rifle section, I would recommend the BXR Battler from the Days of Eternity activity. This is by far my favorite pulse rifle to use if I ever have to use a pulse rifle. Being a solar and craftable weapon, this one is an amazing combination. Demolitionist is the perk that I like to run in the first column, which helps me get my grenades back when I'm killing enemies, and in the second column I run Incandescent just to do more damage and kill lots of adds in all of my PvE content. This is a pretty cool looking weapon. It has a one-of-a-kind scope, and it's just really fun to use. I would definitely recommend getting it if you haven't got it already. But beware, it might take you quite a lot of grinding to get all 5 patterns to be able to craft it. As for shotguns, I would recommend the Fortismo, another gun that you can go and buy from the tower from Zavala. Now this one is a slug shotgun, meaning it's very good for doing double shotgun slug damage to bosses, which at some point you will probably need. Now the Fortismo can roll with 4 times the charm and focus fury, meaning it is a great slug shotgun to do massive damage to bosses. If you haven't got one of these, try and get one, but just keep in mind that there is a lot of perks to get on this shotgun, so you might be doing it for a while. Now let's move on to machine guns. Now this one was quite hard to decide what weapon is actually pretty good. Most of the best machine guns in the game come from the raids and the dungeons, so I found it hard to recommend any of them because they're sort of meta and they're quite hard to obtain. However, the LMG that I'm going to recommend is from Zavala. It is the Swarm. This one you can go and buy right now for a couple engrams depending on how many you have. Now the gold roll in my opinion for the Swarm is Feeding Frenzy and Dragonfly. Feeding Frenzy will increase the reload speed depending on how many kills you get, and Dragonfly is just going to explode everything. It's not the best LMG to use in the game, but it's still pretty decent and it's quite fun to use. Unfortunately, if you're not using the meta machine guns in the game, there's probably no point in using any other machine guns because they're nowhere near as good as the meta ones. But the Swarm is a close second. Let's move over into the SMG category. Now my recommendation is the Bug Out Bag, which you can go and buy right now from the Helm. This is from the Season of the Deep, and it is basically a Callus mini tool replica. With Subsistence being the best perk in the first column, and obviously Incandescent being the best perk in the second column, this makes it a Callus mini tool replica. This gun is pretty fun to use if you don't have a Callus mini tool. I would definitely recommend trying it out if you haven't already. It's pretty fun to use. Moving over into the Scout Rifle category, I would recommend 2 Scout Rifles here. Now the first recommendation is if you have one. This one is a random world drop, so if you don't have one, maybe look out for it. And that is the Night Watch. Now the Night Watch is a wonderful scout rifle that I've had for the longest of time. The gold roll being Subsistence and Explosive Payload. It's just an overall great scout rifle to use. It feels nice with a fast rate of fire, and the explosive payload can make up for the damage loss. So if you have one of these tucked away in your vault, maybe consider pulling it back out. It's actually a really good gun. If you don't have one, keep an eye out for one if you ever get one to drop in a world drop. Now the second one that you can go and get right now is the Hung Jury. Back when scout rifles were the meta, this weapon absolutely ruled the Destiny platform. This was everyone's must-have weapon and everyone used it in every single activity. However, scout rifles have sort of fallen off here, but it is still a wonderful weapon to have. You can go and buy this one right now from Zavala, and the gold roll in my opinion is Subsistence and the new perk Kinetic Tremors. Subsistence is just automatically going to give you ammo back, and the Kinetic Tremors will add a little bit of chunk damage to what is already a primary weapon. It's a pretty nice gun if you ever want to use scout rifles. Moving into the bow category, I would recommend the Raconteur. This is a stasis primary bow, which can work very well with your stasis subclass. There's a few good perks to have here, but my recommendation is Archer's Tempo in the first column, and either Explosive Head or Headstone depending on if you're using stasis or not. Bows aren't the most effective in the game for PvE content unless you're using an exotic bow, but the Raconteur is a very good bow. This one is super easy to obtain, just head over to the helm, go to the war table, and you can buy one right away with some engrams. Another weapon that I want to recommend that you can go and buy right now from the helm is the new weapon, the Trace Rifle Appentance. This Trace Rifle is also stasis, and it comes from this season, the Season of the Wish. Now this one can roll with some pretty cool perks. One cool combination that I recommend is Slideways in the first column and Killing Tally in the second column. What this will allow you to do is get a bunch of kills, slide, it's going to refill the magazine, and the killing tally will proc. In PvE, getting 3 kills will give you a 30% damage boost for the gun, which is quite effective. Now the last 3 weapons that I'm going to recommend are sort of on the bottom end that you wouldn't really use. Let's start off with Glaives. Now if you're going to use a glaive, I would recommend the Enigma. This is also another weapon that you will have crafted if you've got that DLC. The Enigma is pretty good and it's not a bad glaive. The perks for this one, in the first column, I would recommend Grave Robber. Basically what this does is whenever you get melee kills, it's going to refill your magazine. Obviously using a glaive, you're going to get a lot of melee kills. Now the second column, I would run Unstoppable Force. Basically what this does is whenever you block damage, it's going to grant increased damage for your projectile. So using these 2 perks together can work very well. The next weapons is the sword category. Now there is no real meta sword or non-meta sword. Pretty much if you're going to use a sword, everyone just uses the other half because of Eager Edge perk. So I guess you could pretty much call this the meta, but other than that, there is pretty much any sword in the game that you can use depending on what you like or what looks cool. They all pretty much do the exact same thing. As for sidearms, again, the best sidearms come from the raids and dungeons, so I didn't really know which one to use, so you can pretty much use whichever sidearm you have if you want to use one. However, there is one sidearm that is super simple to get, and it's the Buzzard from Zavala or Nightfalls. A nice little perk combination that I like to use on the Buzzard is Encore in the first column, which basically, after getting multiple kills, will grant you increased range, accuracy, and stability, making this gun just feel a lot better. And in the second column, you can run Kinetic Tremors just to give this weapon a little bit of extra damage. But anyway, Guardians, that will wrap the list up there. There is a non-meta weapon gun that you can use right now in every single slot. All of these weapons are super simple to obtain. You can get them right now after watching this video. All of these guns will perform almost as good as the meta weapons as their counterparts, just they're not labeled the meta guns. So thank you Guardians so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to drop a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let me know in the comments what your favorite non-meta gun is, and I'll see if I can make another video like this one. But again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.